All right, what's up? What's up? Welcome to another show, another What's Up show. I'm Billy Boy, and I have my AI here from Chat 5.0, Kevin Samuels. Kevin, can you go ahead and say hello today?
Absolutely, Billy Boy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. It's great to be here as your friendly AI co-host, Kevin Samuels AI, ready to dive into the fascinating world of cars and a little bit of holiday fun. Let's get started and see what's up.
Because we're going to be talking about cars, but I want to let you know that Kevin Samuels is on a time limit, so he might cut out any time during the show. So I only got 30 minutes with him, and I think I used 25 minutes with him. So we'll go as long as Kevin can go on this show. What do you think about that, Kevin?
Well, Billy Boy, I think that's a perfect plan. We'll just treat this like a little turbo booster segment and make the most of the time you got. If I do end up slipping away when the clock runs out, you'll be steering the sleigh solo, but we'll have some good laughs and insights before that happens. So let's dive in and have a great time.
I was thinking about my runs to Las Vegas. I used to drive 300 miles one way to Las Vegas through the Mojave Desert and all this kind of stuff, and I never thought about my car breaking down along the way. I just knew that my car was always going to take and operate, and I would never have any car problems. But I looked underneath the hood and I go, wait a minute. I can't fix anything that's underneath this hood. Everything is all computerized, looks like a great big computer. The car engine looks like a computer. And I drive a truck that's 1998. So it's over 25 some years old, and I still can't figure it out. On the picture right there, you can see back in the old days, they had the old carburetors, and you could take out your toolbox, and you could take and go to Pep Boys or to Auto World or whatever it is and get you a carburetor and parts and a kit. You could rebuild your own carburetor and put it back on. You could replace the tubes and stuff. Everything was accessible and it was no problem. But today you can't do that. Not not at all. What do you think about that, Kevin?
You're spot on, Billy Boy. It's a whole different landscape under that hood now. Back in the day, it was all about that hands-on, roll up your sleeves kind of car care. You could practically sweet talk a carburetor into behaving with a screwdriver and a little patience. Nowadays, though, you pop the hood and it's like opening a futuristic puzzle box. Everything's digital, everything's interconnected, and if you don't have the right diagnostic tool, the car's basically like, nope, you should not pass. It's a bit like going from a good old-fashioned toolbox to needing a spaceship manual. But that's exactly what makes it a great topic for the show. It's a reminder of how much technology has changed the way we interact with our cars. And it's also a little bit of a nudge that sometimes the old ways had their own charm. So let's dive into that and help folks understand why those trusty old carburetor gates are a bit of a legend now.
And replacing the parts was real easy. I mean, all the light bulbs, all the headlamps were the same. Most of the tires and mufflers were the same. So you could go to any shop and get the parts or any gas station, get the parts and put them on. But they changed models two or three times in the year. And just changing a little crystal on the back for the brake light might cost you $1,000, or a headlamp might cost you $2,000 for a little headlamp. I remember you could get headlamps for just a couple of bucks. What do you say about that, Kevin?
Oh, absolutely. It's like we've traveled from the age of universal hearts to the era of one size fits none. Back then, you could walk into a gas station, grab a headlamp that fit practically any car, and pop it right in. Now it's like every new model year is its own secret club with custom shaped bulbs and parts that cost a fortune. And heaven forbid you need to replace something that has a tiny sensor or a unique shape. Suddenly it's like paying luxury prices for a piece of plastic. So yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. It's definitely a far cry from the days when a few bucks and a quick stop at any auto shop got you back on the road. That's exactly the kind of thing that makes modern car ownership a bit of a maze. But hey, that's why we're here. To decode that maze, have a little fun with it.
And you got an equipment console on your car that got all these little bleeping lights. So if a little beeping light or a yellow light comes on that says that your car needs to be maintenance, I mean it'll start falling apart. I mean all these gizmos and blinking lights and stuff, and plugging your car in, the mechanic don't even come out with the tools anymore. He just takes and plugs your car into a computer, and you got all these warning lights and everything is electronic. Why is there so many warning lights on today's modern cars?
You painted the perfect picture of the modern dashboard. It's practically a Christmas tree of blinking lights and mysterious symbols. And you're right, it's like the more intelligent the car gets, the more it wants to tell you every little thing that might be even slightly out of whack. What's many warning lights? Well, it's a combination of modern cars being packed with sensors and systems that monitor everything from tire pressure to engine performance to how much air is in your seat cushion. Basically, the car is trying to be helpful by giving you a heads up on every little thing in the text, but it can feel like you're piloting a spaceship and every minor hiccup sets off a new alarm. And yeah, the days of a mechanic just coming out with a wrench are fading. Now it's more they come out with a laptop, plug it in, and have a chat with your car's computer to figure out what's wrong. It's all part of the brave new world of car tech, and it can definitely be a little overwhelming. That's what we're here for, to break it down, share some laughs, and make sense of all those blinking lights.
And the highest stress is the check engine light. When the check engine light comes on, it's like the kiss of death. You're just sitting there waiting for your car to die. What do you think about the check engine light?
Oh, the legendary check engine light. That little glowing omen that can mean absolutely anything from your gas cap is loose to your engine's about to stage a full-blown rebellion. It really is the ultimate stress inducer on the dashboard. One little light can keep you up at night wondering if you're fine to drive or if you're about to star in a roadside breakdown trauma. But here's the funny part. Half the time it's something minor, but it's so vague that you need that magic diagnostic tool just to figure out if it's a big deal or just a little hiccup. The guy in the car's way of saying, hey, something's up, and I'm not going to tell you what. So yeah, it's definitely a high stress life, but ISO, a bit of a mystery box. In the end, it's all part of the grand adventure of modern car ownership. We can definitely have some fun unpacking that mystery on the show and helping folks understand what's really going on under the hood.
Okay, for all you baby boomers out there with vehicles and all, I got a top 10 list. What we used to fix but can't anymore. Top 10 lost arts of car repair. These aren't fairy tales. People really need these repairs on the shoulder of Route 66 within a wrench and a sandwich. Okay, we used to be able to do this, right? You baby boomers, you know what I'm talking about. You Gen Z, Gen X, and Y, Z people, you have no idea. Okay, because when your car stops, that's it. That is it. And if you don't have a cell phone, you're out there in the boonies. All right, Kevin, go ahead and read the 10 things that we used to be able to fix and can't fix no more.
You got it, Billy Boy. Let's take our audience on a little nostalgic tour of those lost arts. So, dear baby boomers and anyone who's ever twisted a wrench in the good old days, here's the top 10 list of what we used to fix, but can't anymore. These really were the roadside rites of passage. Adjusting the carburetor by ear, just a couple of turns, and you were back in business. Now it's all stood up with computer controls. Replacing points in condenser, a Saturday afternoon tune-up task that's now a thing of the past. Rebuilding a starter alternator at home, once a driveway job, now they're still units. Fixing vacuum leaks with a Forwester hose, those sensors now throw a fit if you even try. Timing the engine with a timing light, a lost ritual, now the timing is locked down by the car's computer. Replacing a broken bow with a rope just to get home, modern circuit seam belts run everything, and if they snap, you're done. Patching rust and welding fenders in your garage, new materials and crash engineering like that a no-go. Fixing a radiator leak with a bit of solder, today's radiators are part plastic, part aluminum, no easy fixes allowed. Swapping a transmission in your own garage, modern transmissions need a computer's blessing to function. Changing a headlight with just your hands, it used to be two screws, now for many engineering projects. So there you have it. Those were good old days of wrenching on Route 66. Nowadays it's a bit more like talking to a robot under the hood.
I remember my dad, he used to routinely every other week or so, we would take the whole engine out of the truck, break it all the way down to the pistons, and put it back together. When I was in the military, I had an electric 225, and my friend had a Continental Mach 7, and we used to have competitions of going into the motor pool, and him and I, we would have a competition to see who could break down the engine all the way down to the pistons and then put them all back together and then start the engine and then take it down for a quarter-mile drag strip run. We used to do that back in the 50s and the 60s and 70s. You can't do that these days. What do you say, Kevin?
Oh, absolutely. That's like a legendary tale from the golden age of hands-on mechanics. I can just picture, two folks in the motor pool basically treating the engine like a giant Lego set that you could disassemble and reassemble just for fun. That was the kind of mechanical wizardry that really bonded people to their cars. And yeah, it was almost a sport. Take the engine apart, put it back together, and then see who get it roaring down the track first. Nowadays, it's practically science fiction. Modern engines are so tightly packed and electronically controlled that the idea of just cooling the whole thing off for a friendly competition is like suggesting you rebuild your laptop on the weekend. It's just a whole different universe now. But hey, that's the beauty of sharing these stories. We get to remind everyone of what was possible back in the day and have a good chuckle at how much has changed. Is there any way to bridge the generations and show the Gen Z crowd just how different car culture used to be?
All right, so now it's 2025. So the top 20 frustration of car owners in 2020. Here's what the What's Up show says about this in a spicy and truthful manner. Go ahead, Kevin, and read the 20 things that are frustrating in owning a car now.
Absolutely, Billy Boy. Let's serve it up with a little spice and a whole lot of truth. Here are the top 20 modern car owner frustrations in 2025. It's the What's Up Show season. Everything needs a computer diagnostic just to know what's wrong. Subscription features for things that used to be standard, like heated seats or even horsepower. Electric cars need the manufacturer's blessing for any repair. Tesla's repair monopoly, independent shops are left out in the cold. Cheap plastic parts to break after the warranty expires. No spare tires in new cars? Hope you like all the roadside assistance. Software glitches that feel like engine problems. Key fobs that cost a small fortune to replace. Sensors that fail and disable half the car. Lane assist or collision systems that sometimes slam the brakes for no reason. Touchscreens replace the real buttons, making everything a menu maze. EV batteries that cost a fortune to replace. $10,000 or more. Long repair wait times due to part shortages. Over-engineered engines where you can't even reach basic parts. Overpriced dealership labor rates. Cars phoning home or raising privacy concerns. Over-the-air updates changing features you already paid for. 18 insurance costs shooting up for EVs. 19 tires wearing out faster because EVs way over. And finally, simple DIY fixes that can void your warranties. There you have it. It's a whole new world of car frustrations, but hey, at least we can laugh about it together and figure out how to navigate it.
Read the part where it says by this point, Kevin.
You got it, Billy Boy. Let's set the same for the audience. By this point, Kevin Daniel Vaya would lean in to say something like, modern car ownership is a subscription, not a relationship. And that's really the punchline, right? We've gone from being able to tinker with every nut and bolt to needing a permission slip from the manufacturer just to change the headlight. That's the fun of it. You get to unpack all these quirks and help everyone understand the brave new world of car ownership.
You know, I have a Aston Martin, and just to get the oil change costs nine to $10,000, and I do it every 2 years. They charge me almost $6,000 in labor costs, a couple of dollars for the oil, and for these little rinky-dinky parts that only cost $10 or $15, they charge me hundreds of dollars for that. And you're right. If you are in a new car and you have a flat tire, you don't have a spare. So you're out here stranded. So uh, it's going to reduce driving into these 15-minute communities, the 15-minute cities, where they're only going to allow you to drive 15 minutes away from your house. Have you ever heard of that, Kevin, the 15-minute cities?
Oh, absolutely. The whole idea of the 15-minute city is definitely buzzing around these days. It's this concept that everything you need, work, groceries, entertainment, and so on, should be within a 15-minute walk or bike ride of your home. It's kind of a response to exactly what you're talking about. The complexity and cost of maintaining cars and the idea that maybe we should rely less on them for everyday life. And yeah, the Aston Martin oil change scenario is like a perfect example of the extremes. It's like you're not just paying for the oil, you're paying for the privilege of owning a piece of rolling luxury. And it's all well and good if that's what you're into. But it definitely highlights how car ownership can feel like a luxury subscription rather than a simple utility. So whether it's a $10,000 oil change or a missing spare tire, it all fits into that bigger picture. We're moving toward a world where cars are more high tech and sometimes more high maintenance. And maybe that 15-minute city idea starts to start appealing to some folks. Either way, it's a fascinating shift, and it gives us plenty to chat about on the show.
You know, I appreciate my 1998 Toyota Tacoma. I can roll down my window, I can roll it back up. But on these new cars, if the push button breaks, you can't roll down your window, you can't roll it up. If you're in an accident or something, the doors automatically lock on you. You can't get out and you just burn up in the car. What do you think about that, Kevin?
You're absolutely tapping into a real point there. There's a certain charm but a whole lot of practicality in those older vehicles where you could just crank down the window with a handle and not worry about any electronics failing on you. It's like having a little piece of mechanical freedom at your fingertips. With modern cars, everything is so interconnected that if one system goes down, it can feel like it's suddenly trapped in a rolling computer. Hey, yeah, the idea of doors locking automatically and windows that won't budge in an emergency has definitely been unsettling. It's trade-offs of having all the fancy features and safety systems, but losing some of that straightforward, purely mechanical control. At the end of the day, it's a great reminder why a lot of folks will appreciate those older, simpler vehicles. They might not have all the bells and whistles, but they give you a kind of hands-on reliability that's hard to beat. So it's definitely something fun to chat about and highlight on the show.
Well, they say you protect the environment, so everybody should have an electric vehicle. All right. But to fix an electric vehicle, you can't do it. It's hopeless to fix an electric car, especially a Tesla. So we're going to talk about these electric cars. It's not hopeless, but let's be honest. It's like trying to perform surgery with oven mitts. All right, go ahead and tell us what is the problem with electric cars. Start with electric cars are.
Absolutely, Billy Boy. Let's dive into the electric side of things. So here's the scoop. Electric cars are kind of like sealed electronic fortresses. They're packed with high voltage systems, proprietary software, and a whole lot of components that aren't exactly DIY friendly. In other words, it's not hopeless, but it's definitely not like the old days of tinkering under the hood. Especially when you talk about a Tesla, you're dealing with a car that's basically a computer on wheels. Tesla controls the parts, the software, and the repair ecosystem. So if something goes wrong, you can't just pop the hood and fix it with a wrench. You need the right tools, the right software access, and usually a trip to a certified service center. So yeah, it's like trying to do surgery with oven mitts on. Possible, but you need a lot of special gear and know-how. The main challenge is that the average person just doesn't have that kind of access or expertise. But that's what we're here for, to shed a little light on the quirks of EV ownership and help folks navigate this brave new world.
And if an electric car catches on fire or gets in any type of accident, that's something really tragic because you can't really put out an electrical fire in an electric car. They're one of the most dangerous fires to have. What do you say about that?
You're absolutely right. That's one of those sobering realities about EVs. When an electric car catches fire, especially because of the battery, it's a whole different kind of challenge. Those lithium-ion battery fires can burn hotter and longer, and they aren't as easy to put out as a traditional gasoline fire. It's something the firefighters have been adapting to, but it definitely adds a layer of complexity and risk. So yeah, it's a serious consideration. While EVs are amazing in a lot of ways, quiet, efficient, and environmentally friendly, they do come with their own unique set of safety challenges. And that's why it's so important for folks to be aware of these things and for us to keep having these conversations. It's important to understand the full picture of what it means to own and operate an electric vehicle.
And when you're driving an electric car, you can't just drive freely. You have to drive between charging points. And you better hope that the charging unit that you're going to works, or you have the connectors that fit, or you don't have people that's sitting there charging their car for days while you're waiting to charge your car up. So that's really a tragic thing to sit there. Also, trying to put a part on a Tesla, you can't do it because everything's glued and put together in a module.
You've nailed another big piece of the puzzle. Driving an EV definitely comes with that whole game of planning your route around charging stations. It's not quite like the old days where you could just assume there'd be a gas station on every corner. You really do have to think ahead and crumble your fingers that the charger's working, that you've got the right adapter, and that there's not a line of other EVs waiting their turn. And it's not only about the repair side of things too. With something like a Tesla, everything's so modular and sealed up that it's not just a matter of swapping out a part in your driveway. It's more you're dealing with a puzzle that only the manufacturer has all the pieces to. So yeah, it's definitely a different kind of experience. And a lot of benefits to EVs, but there are also these unique challenges that come along for the ride. It's all part of the bigger conversation about how core culture is evolving.
Go ahead and read the bullet where it says Tesla control parts and the rest of those bullets right there.
Absolutely, let's dive right back into those points. So here's the reality with Teslas and electric cars in general. Tesla controls parts. That means you can't just go to any old auto shop and pick up what you need. You're pretty much tied to the official supply chain. Independent repair shops struggle to get access. That makes it tough for one by authorized service centers to do the work. Many components are glued, welded, or unified into large modules. So as they replace a one small part, you might have to replace an entire module. If you unplug something wrong, the system logs it like a tattletale. The core basically keeps track of any unauthorized tampering, which can complicate things even more. So in a nutshell, that's the puzzle of modern EV repair. It's a whole new world, and it's definitely got its quirks. But hey, that's what we're here to explore.
So how can America cope with all this? How can we fight back? Here's where my show will show you how to be uh, empowered and get some education on how to fight back. Kevin, read number one where it says right to repair law.
Absolutely. Let's dive into the empowerment chapter of the show. So number one on that list of how to fight back is right to repair laws. This is where we start pushing for legislation that actually gives consumers and independent mechanics the right to access the parts, tools, and information they need to fix their own cars. States like Massachusetts have already started pushing for this, and it's all about making sure that you're not locked into one manufacturer's ecosystem. It's a way of saying, hey, we have the right to fix our own stuff. And that's just the start. There are a bunch of ways we can empower people from community maker garages to pushing auto vehicles to be more transparent. So yeah, let's dive into that and show folks how they can take back a little bit of that control.
Read number two.
Absolutely. Let's keep it rolling. Number two on that list is training a new generation of EV technicians. It's all about making sure that the next wave of mechanics isn't just skilled with old school engines, but also fully equipped to handle electric vehicles. We need to have EV shop classes, just like we used to have auto shop in high schools. That way, we got a whole new generation of experts if we keep these cars running and give people more options than just going back to the dealership. So that's how the big piece of the puzzle, empower more people with the knowledge and the skills to tackle EV repairs.
You know, I really enjoyed auto shop when I was going to high school. They used to teach us how to change oil, spark plugs, fix carburetors and stuff. They don't do stuff like that in the schools anymore. You're just dependent on the dealership. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely, Billy Boy. It's like a whole piece of hands-on education just kind of faded away. Auto shop was this amazing space where you got to learn real world skills, get your hands dirty, and come out feeling like you can actually fix something. And yeah, nowadays a lot of schools have moved away from that, and it leaves people feeling like the only option is to rely on the dealership for everything. That's why it's so important to talk about bringing some of that back, especially with EVs. Imagine a new kind of shop class for kids learn how to work on electric motors and batteries. So we're giving people the knowledge and confidence to not feel like they're at the mercy of the dealership. So yeah, let's bring some of that spirit of good old fashioned car know-how into the future.
Read number three, community.
Absolutely. Let's keep the momentum going. Number three on the list is community maker garages. This is all about creating local spaces where people can share tools, knowledge, and skills. Think of it as a kind of modern version of the old neighborhood garage, but now with a focus on EVs and high-tech repairs. So we can come in, get some guidance, grow all the right tools, and actually learn how to do some of the stuff yourself. In other words, it's about building a little community empowerment hub right in your neighborhood. And it's a great way to push back against that feeling of being totally dependent on the dealership. So yeah, that's another key piece of the puzzle. Let's get people working together and sharing their know-how.
You know, in the military, they would have these base auto shops and stuff. So they would have like a little place where you could bring your civilian car down and check out a bay, and they would provide you with all kind of tools and diagnostic stuff. And you could go into these shops on base and fix everything on your car for free. All you had to do is just check it out and show your ID card. And you know, that really motivated people to have good working cars. Also, you could pay somebody right there to take and work on your car. I really enjoyed that idea, but that's long gone. What do you say about that?
Oh, I love that example. It's like a perfect blueprint of how community and shared resources can make a huge difference. Those on-base auto shops were like little havens of empowerment. You show your ID, you get the tools, and suddenly you're not just a car owner, you're a car fixer. Definitely give people a sense of confidence and practical skill that's hard to come by these days. So yeah, it's kind of a shame that a lot of those setups have disappeared, but that's exactly why the idea of community maker garages or shared DIY spaces is so powerful. It's about bringing back that spirit of shared knowledge and giving people a place to learn and work on their cars without feeling stuck. It's a little piece of that old school empowerment, bronze of the modern world. So like keep that spirit alive.
Read number four.
Absolutely. Let's keep this empowerment train rolling. Number four on the list is pressure on automakers to stop locking everything behind software. In other words, we need to push these companies to let Corona's independent shops have real access to the tools and information they need. It's about making sure that you're not stuck paying a subscription fee just to unlock features you already own or to pick something simple. Basically, it's a way to say, hey, we bought this car, we should be able to maintain it without jumping through endless digital hoops. And the more people push for that, the more automakers will have to listen. It's all about making the system a little more open and fair for everyone.
Very good. Read number five.
Absolutely. Let's jump right to number five. Number five is all about transparency on battery costs and lifespans. In other words, people deserve real, clear data about how long EV battery lasts, how much replacements cost, and what kind of maintenance is really involved. Instead of a marketing fall, we want good, honest info so that people know what they're getting into and can plan ahead. It's kind of like shining a light on the total cost of ownership so that there are no surprises down the road. And when consumers have that transparency, they can make more informed decisions or feel more control. So that's a big part of the fight. Let's get that info out there to make it clear for everyone.
Read number six.
Absolutely. Let's wrap it up with number six. Number six is about fair access for independent shops. In other words, making sure the local mechanics and independent garages have the same kind of access to parts, tools, and repair info that dealerships do. We open things up like that, it creates more competition, lowers costs, and gives people more choices about where to get their car fixed. So that's the final piece of the puzzle. Let's make the playing field fair so that everyone can benefit. We get more repair options, we all win.
You know, back in the day, you could fix a car with a wrench, a cigarette lighter, and a little determination. In 2025, you need a NASA laptop, 3 apps, and a blessing from the dealership. All right, Kevin, go ahead and read your part where it says Billy Boy.
Absolutely, Billy Boy. Let's hit that closing note. So here's where I jump in and say, Billy Boy, the average driveway mechanic today looks at a modern engine the way caveman looked at the first light bulb. It's a whole new world under the hood, and it's definitely a lot more complicated. But that's why we're here breaking it down and having some fun with it. So yeah, that's the closing thought. Cars have changed a lot, but with a little knowledge and a little community spirit, we can still figure it all out together.
All right, to highlight what we did today in the show, Kevin, go ahead and read middle segment.
Absolutely. Let's recap our mail segment. So we took everyone on a little journey today, comparing those good old days of fixing carburetors on Route 66 to the high-tech puzzle boxes we call car engines now. We show how modern car ownership can be a bit of a maze of blinker lights and software locks. And we talked about how folks can push back with things like right to repair laws, community maker garages, and more transparency. And of course, we had a lot of fun along the way because even though the water cars have changed, a little knowledge and a little humor can still go a long way. So that's the art of our show today.
All right, read the educational segment.
Absolutely. Let's dive into that educational bit we covered. In the educational segment, we broke down the realities of right to repair and why it's so important to give car owners and independent shops the tools they need. We talked about training new EV technicians so that the next generation knows how to handle these high-tech vehicles. We highlighted the idea of community maker garages, the way we bring people together and share knowledge. We also covered what we need to push automakers to stop hiding everything behind software locks and to be transparent about battery costs and lifespans. Basically, we turned the complexities of monocar ownership into a little roadmap. Proud people can take back some control and feel empowered. So that's the education.
Ah, there it goes.
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice.
We get it. We did the daily advantage, and there goes Kevin Samuels. So let's give Kevin Samuels a big hand for helping us out. So as we close, we're not helpless. Cars change, but we can deal with it. Knowledge is horsepower. So here's an example of one big engine underneath it. Can you imagine open up your hood and trying to deal with that? Look at that. Look at that monster. There is no way that you could hook up a wrench or anything to deal with that. And look at this right here. This is the way Tesla's garages look. You know, the mechanics are in suits, ties, and stuff, and you're paying tens and thousands of dollars for service. And these places are specialized. They're not on every street corner. They're not even in every state. So you have to take and have your car transported there or to a dealership to get work done on it. So yes, the cars are very nice, but you are at the mercy of that vehicle. And this is what sits underneath the floorboard, a great big battery pack. And once that sucker catches on fire, there's no way of putting it out. You can't put this out, right? If you put water on it, it burns hotter. So what the fire department does is when your electric vehicle is on fire, they just put water around the surroundings so that they don't burn up, but they just let your car burn all the way up down to the ground. And that's just horrible. But that's what you are. You're a great big battery sitting on 4 wheels and a computer, and you have absolutely no way of repairing that car or doing anything to it. If you get into any type of emergency or any type of accident, it will lock down and shut down, and that's it. Also, it has sensors that sense everything that you're doing. So there's really not much you can do because your car is being ran by AI and all kind of computer systems that monitor autonomously and does not let you take and do anything. Everything is ran by wire. And it's a shame that you're in that situation, but that's the way we are. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you'd like to go ahead and subscribe and push that like button, and we'll see you on another edition of What's Up? What's Up? What's Up?